We are back, and I feel the air going through my hair. Well, it may only be the hair conditioning, but boy does it feel good. Here at the Whatever Buddy podcast, we like to feel good. We enjoy the finer things in life, like retro vans and photographs. And that's why we have the one and only MattGrayson.com on the show today. So grab your favorite suntan lotion, a Speedo or bikini of your liking, and let's go cruising. So please welcome, once again, Ryan and Jonny. Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Whatever Buddy podcast. Here today, what is this, episode 15? Is this 15?
I think so.
Maybe?
I think so.
I don't know, we're up there.
Around there. Yeah,
I can't believe we've made it this far. We've made it this far.
Digits.
It's more than a quarter of a year, if you think about it, because that would mean 15 weeks, and 15 weeks times 4 would be 8 weeks longer than a year. See the math I just pulled out there? That was good math.
Rain Man.
Yes, I am the Rain Man. I prefer rain over sun. I also prefer not to die, and that is my opening rant today, Ryan Harris, is that the other day, once again, I live near car dealerships, bro, and they love to test drive their cars down my street. It is nonsense. There's children, there's old people, there's me, there's effing me. And when I'm there, you should definitely be careful, because I will complain when this happens, because I'll go right over to the car dealership and bitch because they nearly kill me.
You got to clarify for me, dude, because my question is, because people are test driving cars, they drive them fast? I've never in my life spent.
Okay, so I live on a street that is, it's not a very highly trafficked street, meaning it's very residential. However, it is a main street. And the car dealerships are right here, so it's convenient. And it's also convenient for them to get on that street and go fast, because there's also, along with no cars, there's no cops. So I'm getting out of my car the other day. I just came home, I got some lunch, I'm stoked. And I get home, I open my door, and like, no lie, dude, this dude comes screeching around the middle island, nearly taking me get out of my car. I feel my hair from the wind move.
So he does a U-turn.
A U-turn around the island, but fast, where it's like, all the way around, and nearly hits me as I'm getting out of my car. That I pull my door shut, because he would have taken out my door, and then just lays down on the gas and all the way down Chandler Boulevard.
I would have gotten my car and followed him.
I did that last time when it was a Mercedes. This was an Audi. And when it was a Mercedes, I rolled up right into the dealership right behind him and went right to the general manager. And yeah, that was taken care of. This time it was an Audi. You know, my man of detail, I noticed that it was a used Audi because it had the year 17 on the windshield.
That's how you knew that it was from one of the dealerships. It wasn't just a
right,
random car.
And it was an Audi, and it was just like, well, it's from the Audi dealership.
So when they take a car for a test drive, doesn't somebody from the dealership have to be with them?
That was always the case. During COVID, when I bought a new car during COVID, and I went on a test drive by myself because of COVID. I'm hoping that there wasn't a guy with him, because if there was a guy with him, then that dude should be fired.
Two things. One, he should lose his job, and two, that puts him in danger if he's in a car with somebody acting like a jackass.
Yeah. I mean, something tells me a salesman wants to sell the car, so he's like, yeah, dude, lay on it. Let's see how she works. Yeah. Let's do it.
If you need to lay on the gas of a 2017 Audi to test its U-turn abilities, here's the kicker. Had he made a right out of the dealership's parking lot, the freeway is literally 2 blocks down the street. So if you wanted to lay on the gas, why not just get on the effing freeway and lay on the gas? I was ready to call the cops, because the reality is I want to press charges against the dealership for this bullshit. This is bullshit, or at least file a complaint, because this happens all the time. Did they take any kind of accountability?
Oh, the manager, he would, dude, I went in there. I was so startled when I went in there. I was shooken up, because I was like, oh my God, somebody just nearly took me out. Like, that was crazy. Yeah. And I was just like, ugh. He's like, dude, you all right? You need some water? I'm like, I'm startled. And then I told him the story. He's like, listen, man. He's like, I have 2 kids. If that happened in my neighborhood, I'd be so effing pissed. And then he was the one who told me about the freeway. I didn't even think about it. He's just like, it doesn't make sense, because we tell them if you want to get, let the car loose a little, go on the freeway. With that being said, welcome. Thank you for listening to my rant this morning. I had to get that off my chest because I'm alive today and I'm very grateful. So everybody, just always remember this.
Yeah.
If anybody ever asks how you're doing great. You know why? Because you're above ground and you're breathing. And to me, that's enough. That's enough reason to have a wonderful day today.
I have a different takeaway than that right there. If you're test driving a car, don't be a dick. Speaking of dicks, Jeff Bezos, dude, you're starting to lose it. I mean, Amazon is very convenient, and we all appreciate the fact that you can get some stuff same day, whatever. But like, he's wearing a cowboy hat now, and he's going to space. And then he says this.
So I want to thank every Amazon employee and every Amazon customer, because you guys paid for all of this. So seriously, for every Amazon customer out there, and every Amazon employee, thank you from the bottom of my heart very much. It's very appreciated.
Somebody should have been like, you're a fucking asshole.
Also, why is he starting to look like Yoda?
Well, he's wearing a spacesuit.
He's wearing a spacesuit, a cowboy hat. He looks like Yoda, and he says something insulting, and people...
Does he look like Yoda, or does he look like he was in the Village People?
He's the astronaut cowboy from the Village People.
That's the Village People 2021, bro.
You don't think he realizes just the insensitiveness of that comment?
I think he does in hindsight. I'll be completely honest and say that I think his intention wasn't that. I think his intention was like, hey, like seriously, thank you guys because you guys gave me the money. I don't think he made it come across as arrogant and fucking heartless as that did.
What he basically said was, I took a buttload of money that you gave me, and instead of putting it towards a good cause, I went to space by myself.
No, he went with like 3 other rich dickheads, didn't he?
He picked like 3 random people, but...
That's kind of cool, though. I mean, hey, listen, we can rag on him, and I agree that he should have like maybe spent that on something like, I don't know, feeding the people of wherever they're starving at in the world, maybe doing something nice like that. But I do think that it is cool that he took 3 random winners. Did they win this? Is that what happened?
It was an older lady, a 19-year-old kid, and then some dude. So
what was the connection to him?
I don't know. Should have looked that up. If you had the opportunity to do that, if you were the random guy picked, would you go into space?
Fuck no. The fuck would I do that for? What's the point in that?
I would go with NASA. I would not go with Jeff Bezos.
I still wouldn't go with NASA. The last time they sent a civilian up there, didn't she blow up on the way back? Or on the way up? Kristen McCullough, right?
Yeah, she was a teacher. Was she a civilian or was she a teacher that also worked for NASA? I don't know.
No. She was a straight up. She won a contest to have a teacher go to space, and she was the one who won.
Had a thought and lost it. What was I going to say? Oh, whenever I was a kid, my dad was a teacher, and I was little. And a commercial came up, and they said, "Send a teacher to space."
I think that, dude. Like seriously, I think that was the fucking one that she won.
May have been, but
what year was that?
I was coloring with crayons. I don't remember because I was a little kid, dude. I was coloring with crayons, and my dad wanted to write the number down because he was gonna call or whatever the information they were giving was, and he went to try to get one of my crayons. And like I wouldn't give them to him because like I was scared of I was like, I don't want my dad going to space, so I kept my crayons. And then the commercial went away, and I remember him being mad because like I didn't give him a crayon.
You realize that is the
I saved his
challenge.
life.
You did.
I saved his life
because that was the challenger. That was how she won. It was a contest. She won a contest.
Yeah.
Let's talk about break some shit. My new guilty pleasure, the Limp Biscuit, the limp of the biscuit kind.
The Limp Biscuit. So, well,
what do you got?
Let's talk about first of all his new look. Fred Durst shows off surprising new look at Limp Bizkit's Lollapalooza 2021 set.
Can I say that I can't remember what his old look was, to be exact?
Yeah, he has a wig and red sundglasses on and like a handlebar mustache. And as far as the clothes go, they're exactly what he would have always worn.
Well, does he not look like he just came out of the Beastie Boys Sabotage video?
Yeah, he's from the Sabotage video. Yeah, 100%.
Do you think that's what he was going for?
I don't hate it either. Hey,
no,
cool.
I think it's awesome.
Whatever.
I think right now he looks the coolest that he ever has. That's a
Actually,
rock star. My honest opinion. My question is it a new look, or is it a thing that he just dressed up like it was Halloween at Lollapalooza?
I mean, Wes Borland dresses up every show somehow different. Maybe he was just doing something like that.
Yeah, but that's been Wes Borland's shtick from the beginning.
I like Limp. Why do people hate on them?
There's got to be an internet explanation. So let's ask the internet this, because I am curious. Internet, why does everyone
hate Limp
Bizkit? There we go.
Question mark.
The answer, originally answered, why do people hate Limp Bizkit so much? Jealousy. Jealousy is the reason. Limp Bizkit was so big back then that the other bands were jealous of their success. No, I don't think that
doesn't explain why people give them shit.
I don't know, man. I just have this picture of Fred Durst growing up and his tough guy thing versus what his reality was. I just don't know if I'm buying it. And I think that's probably why most people didn't like him, because he wasn't believable.
They had some bangers, though.
Bangers like songs?
Like hits.
Huge ones, like 5 or 6 of them, didn't they?
Yeah.
Didn't one of those cause a riot at Woodstock 99?
Woodstock 99. Well, they got blamed for... I don't know. Okay, let's talk about that. They were blamed
playing this. I just
for
want
the
to say,
riot.
They had a... Real quick. They had a song. We can bring up the actual footage from that, and we should. They had a song called Let's Break Some Shit.
It's called Break Stuff.
Break Stuff, right. So there's a breakdown before it. And if we bring up the footage, which we will, he riles the crowd up to the big thing where it goes to break some
All
shit.
right.
And at that point...
But it's not the first time he ever did that. That's what they do during that song. It's not his fault that the Woodstock 99 didn't have proper security.
How do you get to a festival of that size? Okay, where we're talking like mass amounts of people.
It's like 400,000 people or something.
Right, and not have any clue that there's bad tension in that crowd.
So they did an HBO documentary on Woodstock 99, and the two people that put it on were shady as shit. So they were charging $4 for a bottle of water, and I guess the equivalent today, that's like $7 today for water. So they had overcharged water. They didn't have enough of it for the amount of people that were at Woodstock 99. And then they had these ATM machines set up because the only way that you could purchase the water was with cash. So they had these long lines to get to these ATM machines. I think the ATM machines ran out eventually. It was really hot out too, so everyone's dehydrated. They had a lot of medical issues. Even before any of the violence started, there were people, dehydrated, heat exhaustion, sleeping underneath, trying to find shade wherever they could because it was so hot.
Anybody die?
Yeah, 3 people died.
How?
And I couldn't find how the 3 people that died though. So good story, Ryan.
Did you watch this documentary?
I didn't watch it. I read about it.
Okay, so that just proves my theory even more that when you go onto HBO, you're not even looking to see what might be on HBO. You're just going straight to The Bachelor.
I'm pretty tunnel vision, yeah. Breaking down the 7 most disturbing moments in the Woodstock 99 Peace, Love, and Rage documentary. So the toilets backed up. Very quickly, the toilets backed up and they became unusable. And so listen to this, the mud people. People were rolling around in what they thought was mud. Basically what happened was the toilets flooded by the first day of the 3-day festival and became unusable. Plus people were so pissed about the water situation. I just said, the water bottles were like $4 a bottle, equivalent to $7 today. They destroyed plumbing and water started going everywhere. So between those two scenarios, folks were so delirious at this point from heat exhaustion and lack of water that they began swimming in what they thought was mud. It was really human waste.
Oh my God, how many people got sick?
Poop gives you pink eye. How many people you think got pink eye?
How many people were there? Let's say if there was 40,000 people there, I would say 4,000.
I think there was 400,000 people there.
That was the original Woodstock.
Yeah, look. So imagine 400,000 plus angry nu metal fans crowded together in a mosh pit during the peak of summer with little access to water. a month prior to Woodstock 99 was the shootings at Columbine. So there were people at Woodstock 99 and they wanted to do a candlelight vigil when it got dark. So they had candlelights and it came from a good place. Well, they took the candles and they started the fires. And then that's whenever shit got crazy.
The fires was really prevalent during Red Hot Chili Peppers, who went on stage right after Limp Bizkit. Limp Bizkit, whether they were responsible or not responsible for this scenario, were the ones who were on stage when the straw broke the camel's back. Let's see if Fred had anything to do with inciting this, because you know what? Maybe he was feeding off the energy and didn't realize the energy was angry. However, you know, read the room, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Let's see. I haven't seen
let's-
this footage in years, so who knows? I could take that back.
We're going to watch this video and we're going to try to see if we would
And
blame Limp
people should be
Bizkit
able to hear what's
or not
going
blame.
on.
This is the part.
Yeah,
Right here is where people lose it.
this is where he riles them up.
Time to reach deep down inside and take all that negative energy. All
He's
that
inciting
negative
them.
energy. And let that shit out of your fucking system. You got girl problems. You got boy problems. You got parent problems. You got boss problems. You got job problems. You got a problem with me. You got a problem with yourself. It's time to take all that negative energy and put it the fuck out. You feel me, Woodstock? All right, let's bring it out. When this song kicks in, I want you to fucking kick in. You got it? I feel like shit. My suggestion is to keep your distance, cause right now I'm dangerous. We've all felt like shit and been treated like shit. All those motherfuckers who wanna step up, I hope you know a pack of chainsaw. I'll skin your ass raw. And if my day keeps going this way, I just might break something tonight. A pack of chainsaw. I'll skin your ass raw. And if my day keeps going this way, I just might break something tonight. I pack a chainsaw. I'll skin your ass raw. And if my day keeps going this way, I just might break your fucking face tonight. Give me some break. Give me some to break. Give me some to break. How about your fucking face? I hope you know I'm like a chainsaw. A chainsaw. Motherfucking chainsaw. So come and get it.
All right. They're getting a bad rap. It's not their
I think it's awesome.
I think it's not their fault, because the reality of it is that's like a thing you do live. You know, every band's got their
Yeah,
thing.
you try to get the crowd going. It's not his
However,
fault.
there was a point where he kept saying, take that negative energy. Take that negative energy.
Yeah.
That crowd wasn't a crowd hiding the energy. So with that being said, that's what I mean by reading the room. Do I think it's their fault? Absolutely fucking not. It is
Yeah.
the people who ran the thing's fault. Do I think that they could have maybe, you know, instead of saying go break some shit, you know, maybe like,
It's the
you
name
know,
of the song.
Yeah, I get it, dude. Read the room, right?
Read the room.
Read the
When you
crowd.
look-
I don't know. Are you telling me though, Ryan? Do you think that like they were oblivious, completely
No,
oblivious
no.
to what
But,
was happening
hey,
at
man.
that festival?
Like, I'm sure if you use hindsight, they could look at that and be like, yeah, we probably riled the people up a little bit. It was probably an easily avoided situation, you know? But they're doing what they were paid to do.
You put that on, and I used to hate Limp Bizkit, but I really enjoyed that song, and I think I might be a closet Limp Bizkit fan. To be honest with you, might be. I got to go digging and see if there's other stuff I like.
Got me a little hyped.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, today our guest is a really, really, really dear friend of mine. We've traveled around. We've toured together. He's a photographer. He's got his own magazine called Rolling Heavy Magazine. It is Mr. Matthew Grayson, also known as Matt Grayson, mattgrayson.com. So, with no further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring on Matt Grayson.
Matt Grayson.
Ladies and gentlemen, mattgrayson.com. Oh, Matthew W. Grayson. Yo, your new name is GMS76. That's what they brought
There's
you on.
the guy.
I like how Johnny does it from the rehearsal space, so he looks all pro with all those stacks of cabs and shit in the background.
Because I play every one of those.
We had an episode a couple weeks ago where he was bitching a fit about how when you look at people doing interviews on TV, they have bookshelves behind them. And I was like, look behind you, dude. Yeah. It's like the same exact thing.
Yeah, but I don't use this stuff.
Yeah, but nobody knows that. It just looks fucking rad.
I can appreciate your background looks rad.
You look
perfectly.
good too,
you and Ryan Harris have a good OCD thing going on because look how perfectly placed the hats and jackets are on that door.
Hey, Johnny, it's called style.
Yeah, I respect that.
I don't have
respect
any of that. Speaking of not having style, I'm wearing your T-shirt.
I know, that's the worst style you could have.
It's a good shirt, though. I like it.
It is a cool shirt. Your shirts are my favorite shirt. So everybody, this is Matt Grayson. And Matt Grayson and I have quite a history. I've known Matt Grayson for, God now, man, 16 years.
16?
Yeah, 2005. And I met Matt Grayson for the very first time at 7:30 a.m. on a Saturday in the backyard of Brian Klinke's house. And Brian Klinke was the guitar player of the Knives, also known as Brain. And I remember saying to him when he's like, yeah, we got a photo shoot tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m., thinking to myself, who the fuck does a photo shoot at 7:30 a.m.? Now, with that being said, now that I know Grayson, I wanted to be known that I just did a photo shoot with Matt about 2 months ago at 7:30 or 8:30 a.m. And it's because of the lighting. The lighting's great at that point in the morning, and Matt knows that. And we got a picture that ended up going on to be the press shot for the Knives for many years after that.
Yeah, but let's back up a little bit because nobody told you guys to go to the after hours till fucking 5 a.m. the night before the photo shoot.
There is that. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's true. I don't think I found out until the 8:30 in the morning photo shoot until the after party. I thought we just had a photo shoot tomorrow.
That's an ongoing thing with you, dude. Like, Johnny, we'll be on tour, and he'll go to bed way later than he should. And whenever it comes call time to get up and leave, he's like, I got an hour of sleep. I'm so tired, I got an hour of sleep. It's like, well, hey, guy, plan better.
Totally.
But with that being said, that morning led to a relationship that's been in place for 16 years now.
Yeah.
Matt, at that point, went on tour with the Knives, and because he had to move out of his place, and he had nowhere to go, so we were like, well, why don't you go on the road with us? And while we were on the road, I happened to have a roommate who decided he was going to leave while I was on the road. What a dick. I want to throw that out there. He just left unannounced. And but it opened up a room, which good things happen, you know, when you don't expect it. It was like, wow, that was annoying that Michael was moving out. However, in return, I got Matt Grayson moving in when we got back from that tour, and we were roommates for 3 or 4 years after that.
Yeah.
I didn't know you guys were roommates. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, when you're just getting into a town and you get a room with a door that's your own for $425 a month, you say yes.
Absolutely. For sure.
In Los Angeles?
Yeah.
Amazing. Some funny stuff, though, is I just have these images ingrained in my head because Matt's room at the time was the only one that didn't have an air conditioner.
Oh, yeah.
And, but Matt used to sweat fucking bullets, man. He'd work, because he was a photographer. And we're going to get to that. We're going to go back to the whole photography thing. But he would work at his computer all day long. And as the day would go on, it would get warmer. Clothes would start shedding. And it would get down to he'd be in these 70s fucking style tennis shorts and fucking a yellow headband, all 70s out. And he looked like he should be in his magazine today. And it was just it was great. In hindsight, I'm sure it sucked for him. But in hindsight, it was kind of one of my happiest.
Well, also, I was working on a G4 dual processor tower that just generated a gangbuster of fucking heat during the summer as well as everything else. It was horrible.
I'm going to leave that last analogy or comparison or what you were using to Ryan, because he knows exactly what you were talking about. And me, G4, it sounds like when the presidents all get together or something and talk about like the nuclear stuff.
Yeah, it's like sitting next to a campfire.
Yeah. I'm sitting here, same thing, dude, all day. It's just like by the end of the day, I get it. You're taking your shirt off and sweating. Makes me sound like an athlete. We're athletes. We're athletes, essentially. You know?
Finger athletes just pushing buttons.
Exactly.
So Matt's from St. Louis, and that's how he knew the guitar player, the Knives, who was also from St. Louis. So that would be my side of the story. Ryan, would you like to hear what Matt's side of the story of meeting me is, to see if it matches?
So you guys meet in St. Louis, and then pretty soon thereafter you go on
No, we
tour.
met in Los Angeles.
Yeah, we met out here.
We met in Los Angeles.
Okay, my mistake.
And I would say within a week after meeting, we went on tour.
Yeah, it was pretty fucking fast, man, because everything was just happening like really quick at that point, you know?
That was my first real tour. Like I'd gone on the Warped Tour before that, but I was working for Chad's band. So I wasn't, playing. It's so funny. I look back on that tour, Grayson, and I remember how I packed. And I remember the guys in the band were like, what the fuck is this? I didn't realize if you're going on tour for 6 weeks that you can stop and do laundry at times.
Yeah.
I just thought like you left, you had to pack for 6 weeks, and that's just what happened. So I brought the most ginormous duffel bag of 6 weeks worth of everything, as if I wasn't going to shower anymore or wash anymore. And when it came down to it, I'd get yelled at every day for this goddamn bag being
Big bag
in the trailer.
What's a day on tour like for a photographer? Like, what's your agenda? What do you try to accomplish?
Well, we were doing that for Rock Audio at the time, and it was trying to accomplish what we
Matt,
needed.
could you explain a little to the people what Rock Audio is?
Audio Footwear was the shoe company that, essentially Bam Margera was sponsored by, therefore CKY was sponsored by them because Jess was part of the band, and that was his brother. So it was like the parent company that sponsored the tour. So on the tour, I was shooting all the bands every night, also getting kind of behind the scenes stuff, and sending all the files and footage and everything I had to their IT guys so they could upload it onto their website. So they constantly had kind of fresh updates of what was going on the road. So essentially it's kind of trying to get BTS stuff, behind the scenes stuff, but also shooting the show so people can get a glimpse of what's going on in that town, so that they'd be like, well, maybe I want to go to the next show and show up in their town and go to it or something like that. It's basically shooting the same show in different venues for 30 days in a row.
You've had quite a career as a photographer up to this point. Could you let Ryan and our listeners know some of your resume?
Well, how far back do you want to go? Do you want to go just to 2011, or where do you want to go with it?
Let's start at when you met me, because when I met you, you were a photographer. Yeah, that's a great place to start. Because when I met you, you had just moved to LA not long before I met you.
Got out of school, was working in commercial corporate photography studios in the Midwest for a while. And the whole creative by a pound kind of corporate commercial creative thing was just like, it was really wearing on me after a while. Like, I could only shoot so many tchotchkes and bullshit like that, So I was just like, man, I remember one day I went and saw my doctor, and I was miserable. I was fucking out of shape because I was just like a slave to the studio. My doctor's like, dude, whatever you're doing, stop. He's like, you got to change what's going on because you're really going to run yourself into a really grave like this. And that's when I decided. I was like, screw it. I'm just going to fucking pack it all up and go do things on my term out on the West Coast. So I packed up the car and headed out. I think I knew like 2 people when I came out to LA. That was it.
Why the West Coast?
Growing up in the car community and stuff like that, I wanted to go somewhere where I could do car stuff and enjoy the, classic vehicles, as well as kind of do what I was doing with my work as far as photography went. So LA just was like a logical choice. But I came out here just to kind of do it, and I just kind of busted my ass, went into a shitload of debt, and just started kind of scraping up the fucking ladder. And that's ultimately what happened with the photo stuff.
So when you get back from that Rock Audio tour, continue on with your photography journey.
When we got back from that tour, that's when I had to get my car out of fucking Orange County, and then I moved into the apartment with you at that point in time. Which I remember like moving in, and there was a party going on. And I remember I walked through and I had like a box and a sleeping bag, and that was it. I remember going, fuck, I just want to just chill out, man. I'm moving into this fucking party that's going on. And I think Johnny.
There was a party in Johnny's apartment?
Yeah, totally.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I walked in and Johnny just handed me a beer. He's like, yeah, it's going to be fine, dude. And I was like, all right, cool. And I went in there and I just kind of got settled up. But yeah, from that, it was just scraping together a situation where I had a workstation to kind of do work and stuff like that. Because at that point in time, I think I just had a laptop and that was it. So I had to get everything figured out and start putting together just the tools that I needed to start creating the photography. And I mean, that was a lot of it, was going out, hanging out with you guys, meeting the other bands, and just trying to get something started where I could actually, get a name for myself where people would actually want to get the work done, 'Cause I mean, with anything, you got to have a good reputation. So, I mean, that was just it. Was trying to basically hang out as much as possible and do the best possible work I could do just to make people stoked and want to use me more,
It felt like you climbed the ladder fairly quickly back in those days.
I mean, we were going out a lot, dude. I mean, if you think about it, like we were going out pretty much every friggin' night. So, I mean, as long as I just kept my head on my shoulders and just kind of was like doing the grip and grin kind of thing and meeting people, and then they'd see the work and then they would just turn into, another band to shoot and then just kind of like get the name out there, get the photos out there and get the reputation established,
Could you fill us in on some of the bands you've photographed?
See who's on here. We've got, of course, the Knives. We got CKY, Kyle Gass Band. I used to do a lot of stuff for Epitaph. Guy I knew, Austin Griswold, great guy, man. He was the national publicist for those guys. So, I mean, after, working my ass off and just kind of like doing stuff for, $100 here or $200 there, or, even just like on the arm, you start to see a body of work and you can actually show that you have the tools and the talent to do what you need to do. He's like, hey man, he's like, you want to try shooting a band for us? And it was just like, it was a blessing, It was just like, I was very fortunate to get that opportunity. So I think I remember that first time I shot a band for Epitaph, like I spent the entire, everything, my rate, everything on production of the shot or the shoot, just to give them the best possible thing I could do to try to get more work,
That's the perfect mindset though. Just
totally.
Put your work
do what it
in on
takes
that
to make,
first one and
give it everything you got, I got to be honest. I have no idea what the first Epitaph band was that I shot. I'd have to look back into a hard drive and look at dates, man.
Well, what are some of them?
Let's see what we got. We got Set Your Goals. Shot Alkaline Trio when they were on Epitaph for a little while. Set My Friends on Fire. Falling in Reverse. We did Newfound Glory, which was a really cool one. Those guys were always great. I did a couple things for those guys. Red Jumpsuit Apparatus. I don't remember exactly if they were on Epitaph or if they were on somebody else, but it was just a lot of the bands for the time. But I mean, obviously, it was also a lot of shooting the Knives, of course, because those guys were family to me. Fireball Ministry, shot those guys a bunch because I met them on tour and they were really supportive and really helpful as far as getting stuff out there and getting it going. And then there's always that one CKY shot. What was that, Pittsburgh?
It was Pittsburgh. That's where Ryan is, and Mr. Small's Theater backstage.
Oh, I love that place.
Yeah. Do you know where I'm talking about, Ryan, in the upstairs? The dressing rooms are like the priest quarters or something.
It was an old church that they converted into a music venue, and then they used the priest quarters to be the backstage. So it wasn't just a backstage. It was basically like a back house, apartment,
Okay, so let's continue on from Epitaph. What happens after that?
I mean, I shot for those guys pretty steadily until the accident. I mean, that's really what went down. I was working for those guys pretty steady. I was picking up side stuff here and there, doing some stuff on some indie films, maybe shooting some unit on indie films. Started doing some commercial stuff, started really kind of cranking along, and things were going good. And then the accident happened and everything kind of fucking fell apart,
You keep referring to an accident. Do you want to share with us about what this accident is and where it's led you today?
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, living in LA, everybody knows it's kind of fucking a clusterfuck as far as traffic goes. So I was into motorcycles. I was riding motorcycles quite a bit just for the practicality of it. Like you get places quicker, you could make it on time. You're not stuck in traffic, parking, of course. But so I was riding back from a pre-light. It was October 24th, 2011.
What's a pre-light?
You go and basically you go to the location and you light everything so you're ready for the shoot the next day. So I was doing that, and when I was riding home, it was like one of those weird days in Hollywood where like traffic's a nightmare and there's no practical reason why. It's just like everything's congested and clusterfucked, and there's no Olympics going on, or there's no crazy protest, or there's no reason for it. It's just a mess, So, I mean, I was being a pretty safe rider, and I was just, I was taking my time, getting through traffic. I was like, I'm not going to rush this shit because it's already a mess and people are driving like assholes. And so I was like riding home, and I was going to jump on the freeway right there where Side One Dummy used to be on Cahuenga on the 101, because I was living downtown at the time. And man, I got to tell you, this guy just was not paying attention and like tried to jump through an intersection and left it right into me. And, it was like everything changed at that point in my life.
Sorry if it's a shit question, but like, what were your injuries? What was the extent of your injuries?
So the leg got cut off. I went through that. So I went through all that shit.
It was actually off?
There was an artery and like 2 inches of skin hanging on. That was it.
Yikes.
Like I had to literally huck myself onto my ass and grab the ankle of my boot and sat it on the sole of my boot and balance myself so it wouldn't tear the rest of the way off. And it was just like, the fortunate thing was I was pissed off more than anything. So I had the adrenaline rushing, you know? So like, well, I remember like sitting in the street and looking to the curb and like people were just glazed staring, like nobody was like willing to help out. They were just like staring at it, just like, what the fuck? And it was this guy that came out of the liquor store and he came behind me, he stepped shaking me. He's like, stay up, kid, stay up. He's like, the fucking ambulance is coming. And I remember going, dude, I'm not going to fucking make it. This sucks, man. I had shit to do. This is not fucking cool. He's like, yeah, you are. He's like, they're so close, man. They're going to get you there. You're going to be fine. He kept shaking me and kept shaking me and kept shaking me. And it was this thug dude in like a yellow Lakers jumpsuit. Like the total of the guy I didn't think would be there for me was the guy who was there for me, keeping me up. And I remember falling over, like kind of like crumbling because I was just losing my strength because my blood was gone. And that guy stayed there with me, shaking me and kept me up until the ambulance guys got there. And then after that, he just kind of like walked away. That was it, man. He just fucking
never saw him again.
Weird, interesting point was that, of course, you remember Laura Jean.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. This was like a few months after the accident. And she called me up and she's like, hey, Grayson, she's like, I want to get you out of the house. You've been cooped up for a while. She's like, they used to do that Devil's Night drive-in up on the rooftop of that the parking garage in downtown back in the day, you know, where they'd show films and you could just hang out.
Yeah.
She's like, we're going to the drive-in. We're going to pick you up in the car. We're going to take you with us. You know, you'll be set up. It'll be fine. And she's like, I want to talk to you because it's been a while and I was on the road when all this shit happened. So I remember telling her the story and kind of describing what I remember to the guy. And she was like, wait a minute. She's like, she asked me a couple of questions. I was like, yeah, that sounds just like the guy. She's like, that's this dude Pugs that we lives in our fucking apartment building. And like, literally he's like an East Coast guy, but like, he's like, you know, he looks like a thug, but he's got a heart of gold. And she's like, that sounds just like him. And I was like, well, yeah, man. I was like, that's the fucking guy that kind of like was there for me when nobody else was. And she's like, man, she's like, I wonder if it was him. And then like, no kidding, like they dropped me off after the movie. And then it was a few hours later, I get a call from Laura Jean. She's like, you're not going to believe this. I'm like, what's up? She's like, well, she's like, I was walking across the street to go do laundry after the film and I saw Pugs. And I went up to him and I'm like, hey, did you help a guy in a motorcycle accident right here a couple months ago? He goes, oh, yeah. That guy's leg got cut off. How's he doing? And it was that dude. Wow. And I was just like, I literally froze. And I remember saying this, and I mean, I won't like get too deep into it. But, you know, I went through all the court and everything like that. I was awarded $4.7 million for what happened to me. And I remember one of the things that my attorney asked me was like, what are you going to do? I was like, I'm going to find that dude and I'm going to grant a wish for him. I'm going to give him one thing. I was like, obviously, like, I can't like do anything ridiculous, but I was like, I have this money and I want to do something for that guy because he was there for me when nobody else was. I want to get a hold of him and I want to make a wish happen for him. But then, you know, I got screwed out of the fucking dough and I lost everything. So never was able to do that.
Can you explain that because
which part?
I just want to say that there is a grave injustice in this story that it infuriates me beyond. And if it infuriates me beyond, I can only imagine how Matt feels. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, if I share this wrong. Matt was awarded $4 million.
Mm-hmm.
The insurance company appeals it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Matt gets $0. Now.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, that's the short of it. Yeah.
If you asked my opinion, there's no question that somebody was paid off somewhere. What was their reasoning for making
I can't say that anybody got paid off or this or that. Here's what I do know was I remember waking up in the hospital with a ventilator down my throat, strapped down, and like nothing below my neck responding. I had no idea if I was paralyzed. I didn't know what was going on. But I remember like my orthopedic surgeon was there and like that guy saved my fucking life. Like I remember like talking to that cat and I was just like, you know, he's like, do you know who I am? And I'm like, I have no idea who you are, man. And this was like after like things started responding again because like when I was in the hospital, they shot me with an epidural because I was so fucked up. And that was what was going on is the epidural basically numbed me from the neck down. And, you know, it's like, that's why I couldn't ultimately move. And so when I could move again and they pulled the ventilator out and all that shit, I remember I woke up and there was this guy sitting next to me and he was just sitting there like kind of watching me. And he looked at me, he's like, do you know who I am? And I'm like, I have no clue who you are, man. I'm sorry. I was like, I'm not trying to be rude. I just don't know who you are. And he's like, my name's Dr. Farshid Hekmed. They call me Dr. Fred. He's like, I'm the guy that put you back together last night. And I was like, what? And he told me, I got called in for you at 6 p.m. He's like, you needed a plastic surgeon, you need a vascular specialist, you need all these guys. Nobody would come. He's like, I had to sit there and do everybody's job. So I went in with you like 6 a.m. or 6 p.m. I didn't get out until almost 2 a.m. with you. Wow. He's like, so I had to basically rebuild you, every part of you myself. He's like, the first thing I need to know is like, what, do you have an attorney? And I was like, wait a minute. I was like, so you're the one that put me back together? He's like, yeah. And he looked at me, he's like, I just want you to get better. He's like, I can see what's going to happen here. He's like, you're going to need to get an attorney really fast because this is going to go bad for you if you don't have somebody looking out for you. I ended up getting an attorney, and I was supposed to have been the best attorney that I had. And we went through years of legal stuff. Like we went through California Superior Court. And, after all was said and done, I was awarded $4.7 million for what happened to me. They were like, yeah, my attorneys were like, it's going to take a while to get it. Just do what you have to do to keep your bills paid and stuff like that. So like, I had full production at that point in time for photo stuff. I had all my own grip. I had everything. So like I started selling off all my gear. I started selling off all my prime glass. I started selling off all my motorcycles.
Thinking you were going to be able to buy it all back.
Well, that's what they told me. They're like, dude, don't worry. You're going to have enough money that you can actually, you'll be able to get new stuff whenever this is all said and done. They're like, just do what you got to do right now to keep your head up. And so like, when we were going through court and everything like that, there was donations from friends that, saved my ass from all,
Ryan, we played a benefit show.
Yeah, there were like 3 benefit shows for me. And I mean, I'm grateful to all those guys, everybody that like was helpful with that stuff. I can't say enough about that, but that's how I kind of kept my bills paid. My landlord was like family to me. To help take care of me and stuff like that. Next thing I know, they're basically telling me that, well, there's a thing, basically the insurance company being Allstate is just like, screw you guys, we're not going to pay you. And they're like, so my attorneys, the way they told me was like, we're going to have to go and now we're going to have to physically sue Allstate for your settlement because they're refusing to pay it. And because that's they said that was the game or something like that. They were like, yeah, basically like we have to sue them, but because we're suing them, they can choose venue. And Allstate said they didn't get a fair hand in California Superior Court, so they wanted to go federal. By that happening, they were able to choose the judge and all kinds of stuff. And I don't know if they got a judge that they knew or what the deal was, that they chose the judge they knew would look in favor of big business. But from what I understand, the judge was just like, we don't understand this. I'm throwing the case out. This doesn't make any sense to me, and just fucking killed it.
That's fucking insane.
Yeah, it never worked out. And they ended up, I remember I got an email one day. And I had lost my place by this point. I'd sold off a majority of my stuff. I think I had my laptop, my camera, my van, and that was pretty much what I had left, And I remember like my attorneys didn't even like have the nuts to call me and tell me. They literally sent me an email saying, well, things didn't work out. Sorry about that. Good luck. That was kind of the gist of the email.
I would have sued the fucking lawyers at that point. Fucking
money. You gotta have money to put down on an attorney.
I know. What? Yeah, dude.
I mean, that was the thing is that like I was supposed to have all these future surgeries and like I was supposed to have the hardware removed from my leg and all kinds of shit. And that all hinged on the case, on like my settlement, which is what I was supposed to have. And because I got fucked on that, like I got no more treatment and anything like that. Like I literally lost a lot. That's what happened. So ultimately I found this out in court, and I talked to my doctor after the fact, and because I didn't know any of this shit until I was actually sitting in the fucking courtroom going through my fucking shit with the judges, is that when I got hit, like I was like fucking dying, and then the fucking ambulance got there and they fucking smacked me full of 5 doses of morphine. And if you ever been on morphine, you're fucking superhuman. Like literally, like I was just like, oh, I'm good to go. Let's fucking do stuff, man. Let's go eat a beer or whatever, Because like I was like so fucking high. And I remember like I told because it was LA County Fire Department that was the ones that got me, I remember telling those guys, I was like, whatever you do, don't take me to county. I know what happens there. I'm not going to fucking county. And they're like, okay, we'll take you to Cedars because that's actually closer anyway. I was like, good. I was like, I know how bad this is, but I was like, fucking whatever you do, just tell the doctor if he can save my leg to save it. But if he can't, I understand. I was like, just whatever you do, tell him that shit. And I mean, fucking those guys did it, man. Those guys hung out there until the fucking doctor got there to tell them my message, and they fucking followed through with everything I asked them to do, which was huge. Yeah. So I was in the ER, and they tried to turn me away because they were so fucking booked, but it's by law. They're not allowed to turn you away. Yeah, because they were like, oh, we're too full. That's what happens. And it's like a rule that if it's a life or death situation, they are not allowed to turn you away. Right. So they rolled me into the ER, and I remember I was still conscious at this point for some reason. Like I had not fucking blacked out or anything yet. And I remember laying on the slab, and all the nurses and shit are running around. And I remember I started feeling the morphine wear off, and I started feeling the fucking pain come on, and like it was a weird warm sensation, So they rolled me on my side, and that's how I got the epidural in my spine, which is what knocked me out ultimately. But the EMTs told my Dr. Fred, that I wanted to save my leg if I could. And he looked at me, and I was in really good shape at the time. And I was still like, it was like literally like somebody just fucking chopped my leg off, And so he looked at it. He's like, no, I can fix this. And the hospital was like, oh, just amputate it. It's more cost effective for us. And he's like, no. And so he argued with the hospital staff for 45 minutes to keep my leg. But the EMTs, because they were so, or not the EMTs, the ER nurses, because they were so fucking busy, prepped me for an amputation and shoved me in a room. And then my doctor's in there arguing with the staff about why he should save my leg because it's a possibility. And I bled out and died. And I found that out in court. I remember sitting in court, you know, my doctor was up on the stand giving his testimonial. And I remember like there was this point in time whenever he was doing that, he like looked at me. It was almost like, get ready for this one, dude. And I was like, what the fuck? And he goes, yeah, Matt actually passed away at this point in time. Like he had the time and everything down. And he told the story. He's like, yeah, you know, the hospital had prepped him for an amputation, but I could save his leg. And that's what I had to do what my patient's wishes are because that's my code of ethics. And he's like, that's what Matt didn't know. We haven't told him that at this point because we didn't want to disrupt his rehabilitation because we wanted to see him like do well, which he has. And I was just like, holy shit. I remember like I literally started fucking my eyes just like filled up with water and I like got up on my cane and I fucking walked out into the hall and I just fucking lost my shit. So I had no idea I died.
Wow.
Dude. Yeah.
That's great.
Wow.
But that's how I died was because like my doctor was trying to do the right thing and, you know, stick to his code of ethics. And he's like, no, I can fix this guy. He's in good shape. He's young enough. His body, you know, I can put this back together. They're like, no, just chop it off. It's easier.
And they're just wasting time.
Yeah.
So the bleeding out because they set you up to be prepped to have an amputation and by doing so that bled out.
Well, I guess the way they prepped me was like supposed to be a temporary thing. And then just because the conversation went on and they were busy and everything kind of got lost in the shuffle, that's when I apparently bled out and died. That's the way I understand it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fucking crazy deep shit.
It's heavy, man.
Ugh, God, what a constant reminder though, right?
Oh yeah, no, I'm never going to forget it. I'm fucked, you know?
Well, I'm so grateful you're here with us today.
Thanks, buddy. I mean, you know, we got more Olive Garden to go, dude.
Yeah, OG. That's our thing, right? We go to the Olive Garden.
I love Olive Garden.
I have a couple of positives to point out of this. First positive is I guarantee you karma will bite those motherfuckers in the ass, every one of them. But the best positive of all this, and this is great segue, it was terrible to go through all of that. But on the other end of this, you have a really great magazine that's coming up and that's up and coming called Rolling Heavy Magazine that would have never, maybe it would have started, but it
would have never happened if I hadn't gotten hit.
And there you go. It would have never happened if you've never gotten hit. And granted, to have to go through all of that torment from losing your foot to being granted the jackpot, to have the jackpot taken from you, it came something that could, in the big picture, you know, be a blessing in disguise if there was one.
Well, I mean, the only way I can justify it is by saying that's fate's way of fucking giving you a hard reset. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, I don't really know how else to kind of look at it. Yeah, it's basically like, it's like fate's way of saying, hey, you're on the wrong path. This is going to suck, but we're going to fucking switch gears on you, whether you like it or not.
So what was your process, or what was your, I guess, story in healing up from the accident and then starting your magazine, Rolling Heavy?
Well, so I was stuck in bed for a long time with my leg growing back on. I mean, like it was pure misery. And I remember like I wanted to get off pain pills as quick as I could because I've seen what that does to people and I didn't want to be that guy.
Right.
I needed something to do because, like, you know, being a creative and like you need an outlet, you just need something to pass your time.
Yeah.
So I literally had this idea. I was like, you know, because I collected Easy Rider magazine back when it was still good. Literally, like I read them all cover to cover. I mean, I needed to keep my mind occupied to kind of not focus on the pain and all the shit I was dealing with. So I remember I got in my head one day and I was like, I need something to do, you know? And so I was like, well, screw it. I'm just going to like make up this idea of like doing a van magazine, like in the realm of Easy Rider, because I had my van for carrying the photo gear. And that's the one thing I still had. And I was like, well, I could just do this and it would just literally be something to pass the time.
And the van that you had at the time, what year was the van itself?
Oh, it's a 76 Chevy. I just kind of started doing it as something to do. Like I had buddies in the photo industry that I knew I could count on, you know, to like help out and shit. Sorry, one second. And I was just kind of like, I literally didn't know anybody else with vans at that point in time. It was just this idea that I had. And so I was like, you know, I was looking on Craigslist for vans and it would be like, hey, you know, you have a cool van. You know, could my buddy come out and shoot this thing, you know, and we'll give you some pictures to use for your ad because your ad pictures kind of suck. You know, maybe it'll help you sell your vehicle quicker and gives me something that I could use to kind of fuel this art project I had. So that's kind of how it started out, was just kind of doing shit like that. So I created the Instagram account for it and people started following it. And I was like, well, that's weird, you know? And I started getting messages. People were like, hey, I heard you're doing a van magazine. Where can I get a copy? And I was like, I have no idea. I don't know anything about printing a magazine. I was like, I'm just doing this for something to do. So I had a buddy that kind of had some insight into that thing, and we kind of worked together a little bit. He kind of helped me kind of like understand a few things, and I had a few bucks squirreled away, and so I like basically printed up this first copy of the magazine, and I was surprised when it actually sold.
You found a niche.
Yeah, and I think the last like number one, like I used this really shady printer out of Hollywood, Florida, and I think they went belly up after I printed that first issue and like just vanished or disappeared or whatever off the face of the earth.
Say shady place in Florida.
Yeah, go figure, right? And then I think the computer I was working on like totally took a nuclear meltdown, and so the hard drive was just gone. So like the PDFs for that issue I've never been able to find again. They're just fucking out. They're non-existent. So that's ultimately that's the one issue everybody's always looking for. And the last issue I saw that thing sold on eBay, I think it was like $175.
Oh wow.
And I was just I remember seeing that happen. I was like, well, that wasn't supposed to happen for like 30 or 40 years if it ever happened, you know?
Yeah. It's like Superman 1.
Yeah, right? So, I mean, I just kind of like nursed it along and I kept going. Originally, it was just kind of giving me something to do to get back into photography and do what I could, because if I'm my own client, I can just make it work.
What's a typical edition of the magazine have in it?
It's mostly vans, and then, I kind of playing true to the Easy Rider style of the magazine. It's like a 70s kind of flashback of subculture. So it's like there's usually a couple girls a model in it, and it's mostly 70s era vans, which is kind of what I call like the golden era vans. And those are the kind of things that I'm really into. So that's what I kind of geared the magazine toward, was that kind of classic style of custom vans. And I mean, I've kind of stayed true to it. Everything's cover to cover, is 56 pages. Like there was a magazine out in the early 80s called Auto Buff, which is one of my favorite magazines, and it didn't last very long. But if I had to pick a hot rod magazine that my thing is like, I would say Auto Buff, because I love that magazine, but it's really obscure and underground and it's hard to find.
Do you take the photos for the magazine, or is it a collection of different sources?
If people contribute, that's fantastic. I mean, that's like a godsend to me, because then it's like, it's like I can get stuff done in places that I couldn't normally kind of get to, just for sheer logistics and cost. I mean, like I don't like, my advertisers are mostly buddies, it's like,
Right.
And they help me out. There are some paid advertisers, and I'm very fortunate to have those guys, but it's like, it's like the guys that help me out, I want to help them back. So like if they're helping me out with something, I would be able to give them an ad and do trade, because I want to make them feel like they've gotten something out of this, But I mean, like the New York Times did a story I did a story with the New York Times on vans and the custom van movement in Southern California a few years back. And I remember seeing that. I remember right before the story came out, because they were relaunching the automotive section in the New York Times because it had been killed. The week before the story came out, there was a full page promo for the story in the New York Times.
Wow.
That's amazing.
I remember like seeing that. I was like, holy crap. I was like, I got some buddies involved in it, because I wanted to make it like a thing about us, about everything that's happening here, not just like this one thing. And I remember looking at it going, man, I was like, that is amazing that there's a full page ad of one of the dudes I know in their van in the New York Times promoting the story that comes out next week.
Yeah.
And I remember sending it to my mom. I was like, hey, Mom, remember when I was doing photography? Well, I got in the New York Times with a van and titty mag. That's hilarious, right? They say you can't measure success in monetary gain, although it helps.
Yeah.
But when that happened, I was like, wow, I felt like I accomplished something,
You've had a couple of cool things. Wasn't there a picture out there of Dave Grohl wearing a Rolling Heavy shirt?
Uh-huh.
And then Joe Rogan talked about it on his podcast.
No, the Joe Rogan thing, I mean, that was like, I mean, I still am just like blown away that happened. There was a guy, Matt Farah, and still is a guy, Matt Farah, a really good automotive journalist out there. I met him through a mutual friend, Jack Baruth, who's a good buddy of mine, another very respected automotive journalist. And I hung out with him one time and we talked about it. And he was like, we were talking about stuff, and he's got his own podcast. And he's like, yeah, I'd love to have you on sometime. And we're kind of just chopping it up, rapping about stuff. And then like when that happened on that podcast, that was like a year or two after I'd met him. Like the fact that guy remembered me and what the magazine was about to mention it on that podcast, I was just like blown away. I remember like a guy I know, he like sent me a clip. He's like, hey dude, he's like, you just got mentioned on the Joe Rogan podcast.
That's amazing.
And it was actually like a really flat, the way Farah put it was just flattering as hell, man.
It's on Matt's Instagram page. So if you go on there, the Dave Grohl thing, how did he get your shirt?
That was with Fireball Jim, Jim Rhoda. I remember he contacted me one time and he's like, hey, he's like, I think, Dave Grohl would really dig your thing that you're doing. He's like, maybe you ought to send him a package. And I was like, okay, cool, man. I'd love to do that. What's his t-shirt size? I'll send him a really good gift package, and we'll see what happens. So Jim gave me all the information that I needed, and I shipped it out, and then I just never heard anything. I figured like a PA or somebody like that just intercepted the package and probably tossed it in the mail or kept the stuff or something like that. It's whatever. I mean, that's just how shit goes. And then somebody I know sent me a picture, and they're like, hey, I'm in this salon, and I'm flipping through People magazine. There's a picture of Dave Grohl while going through the airport, pushing his luggage cart, wearing a Rolling Heavy shirt. And I was like, what? And then I saw it, and I was like, oh, I guess he got the package.
Okay, first thing that comes to the top of your mind, no thinking, just let it go. All right? I'll go first. You ready?
Yeah.
Johnny, you go.
Neurotic.
My man.
It's so consistent, dude. It's so
right. Yeah, you're gonna love it.
Okay, so shooting live shots versus shooting stage shots, very different. What's your approach to the two?
Shooting live shots, you just gotta get in and get out. You literally have a small amount of time, unless you're on a rock audio tour with the knives, where you get down there and you have like very limited time to grab the shot. So it's just spray and pray. Just kind of get off as many frames as you can, find your exposure, and move on. Stage shots, it's like, how bad do you want to go? Do you want to go natural light? Do you want to do, strobes, or do you want to do, hot kinos or something like that? It's like, what's it going to take with what tools you have and the amount of money you have to work with to ultimately achieve this vision you have for your client?
So I'm going to throw these dates at you, and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. June 21st, June 22nd, 2006. Go.
Dude, what was that, Joan and Peters in New Hope?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Good memory,
Because your
man.
birthday is before my birthday. It's one day off.
There's a fun fact for our listeners. My birthday is June 21st, and Matt's birthday is June 22nd. This tour, we were on tour with CKY, and we had a day off. And on this day off, happened to land on my birthday and happened to land in the Philadelphia area. So we played at a place called John and Peters in New Hope, Pennsylvania. Great little hippie town.
Place was awesome.
It was awesome.
That's an awesome town and an awesome venue.
Yeah,
Definitely.
It's great. And CKY was doing a show on the Zoomies Couch Tour that day. It's somewhere in northern Jersey. So we had this knife show that night where we were going to celebrate my birthday, and at midnight we were going to celebrate Grayson's birthday. And the guys from CKY came to the show after they got done playing at the mall somewhere in Jersey. And I remember Jess paying for everybody's drinks on Bam's credit card.
I remember, like, after the show, we went over to there was like that. Remember, there was that really ghetto club that was across the street, but it was definitely UI, Jess, and Shitbirds. And like, Jess got us in, and he looked at me and he's like, "You can have any beer you want from this bar as long as it's Yingling."
So, final question: what's the gas mileage like on some of those vans?
Oh, it's horrible.
It's horrible.
It's horrible. It's the worst. God, I think my black one with the 400 small block in it maybe gets 8.
8?
8?
Yeah,
8 miles a gallon,
8?
yeah. Yeah,
Jesus.
if I'm lucky. Yeah, but it's way worth it. It's so much fun.
It's totally awesome. Hey, Matt, listen, final thoughts. I would say that I think what's happened is a blessing in disguise in sorts. It was a rough road. I love your analogy or metaphor, whatever one. I'm not the word guy, even though they call me the word guy, but whichever one about, a hard reset. It makes so much sense. And you know what, man? This is the thing. I have good feelings that someday this is going to turn into a television show. It just seems like one of those, chopper shows in the makings for me. I see that happening. So I want to thank you for joining us today. You're the man. I love this guy like a brother. I got his shirt on. Everybody should check out Matt's magazine, Rolling Heavy. If anybody needs some pictures, this guy's the man at mattgrayson.com. And, dude, I love you, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
I appreciate you guys having me on, and I appreciate the time, guys.
Yeah, this was awesome, man. Thanks for taking your time.
Thank you.
Awesome, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Cool, buddy.
Later.
See you, bro.
Later.
All right. Man, that was an awesome conversation with Matt. So grateful that he took the time to actually go into detail about that. We are grateful that all of you have joined us as well. Please subscribe wherever it is that you listen on the YouTubes where you can see our faces. You can go there too and subscribe. And until next week, thank you very much. And thanks for listening to the What Everybody podcast. See you next time.